Okay, so let's get started, everyone. So today we're going to talk about conclusions of 2021 and what to expect on 2022. Okay, so it's going to be really, really interesting. Let's find out. So let's talk about the first conclusion of 2021. What's happening in the market today or in 2021? So inventory was down 55% from 2019. I mean, this is a huge drop. So let me show you what the lines mean. So the blue line, this is on a chronological order. This is 2016, and then the orange is 2017, 2018, the red one, 2019, 2020, and 2021. So the difference between 2019 and 2021 in a 2-year time frame, there was a drop of 55% of the inventory. So it's huge. No wonder it's a seller's market, okay? So now something that you do need to understand is this is equivalent to 2.4 months of housing supply. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, this is a very important concept for all of you to understand, months of housing supply. What it means is that assuming all the properties that are actively for sale on the market and we don't have any new listings, it's going to take 2.4 months, so like 2 months and a half to have all these properties sold. So the months of housing supply is super, super small. This should be 4 to 6 months to equalize supply and demand, okay? So again, months of housing supply is a key indicator, especially for flippers. Why? Because flippers are going to be looking for markets where the months of housing supply is 1.5 or less. So they want properties to last on the market month and a half or less. That's an amazing flipping market. Okay. So in this case, guess what? Everything is selling like hotcakes. That is why the months of housing supply is super, super low, historically low. This should be in the 4 to 6 months of housing supply. Is this making sense so far? Okay, so that's for the active listing count as of right now. So today we have about 500,000, this is nationwide, properties for sale right now. And in 2019, we had about 1.2 million. So that's a huge drop, okay? So what's happening to this shortage of inventory? What's the triple effect on that? We're gonna see that on the next slide. Obviously, prices are high. So they've gone up in 2021, just this year alone, by about 10%, 9.5. And then the sales median property for in Chicago, it's about 277. Nationwide is higher, 350,000. Okay. So, but I need you to understand this graph. This is only from 2020 all the way to 2021. So you can see the price increase. So here, this is January 2021. So the beginning of this year, we were at the very lowest, and this year alone has captured an increase of 10% on the prices. Why? Because of the previous slide, the shortage of inventory, the drop of 55% in the last 2 years has caused a dramatic increase in property prices. In 1 year, 10%. That's huge. It's a huge appreciation on properties, okay? So I just need you to understand the basic facts because this is going to help us forecast what's going to happen in 2022 and how you need to position yourself for 2022. So far, clear on this aspect? Property prices have gone up because supply and demand. When you have a small supply and a big demand, obviously that helps property prices go through the roof. Let's look at the next slide. Since 2013, the prices have staggering increase of 71%. I mean, that's huge. So this is 2013 all the way to today. 73%. So the best time to get into real estate was back in 2008. The second best time, 2013, because you're going to buy low. And the third best time to get into real estate is when? Today, now, exactly. And I'm going to tell you why. But at least you can see that real estate is one of the best mechanisms for wealth accumulation. Okay, it is that simple. So this tells you the sales median price for homes in the US. This is nationwide. So again, the average is going to be over 300,000, but in Chicago, it's less than 300,000. So somewhere in the 270. Next slide. This is super interesting for you to understand. Let's look at the first stat, sales to listing price, 98.3%. So what does that mean? What it means is that if a property, we're looking at this, if a property is for sale for $100,000, it's going to be sold for $98,300. In other words, they're almost selling for what? Asking price. Exactly. It's insane. So year over year, that's been increasing, right? So never in our history of purchases we've seen people paying almost asking price. This was in the low 90s, but not close to the 100%. So sellers are getting almost asking price. Now check the next stat: homes sold above listing price. Okay, 26.2%. So out of 100 properties for sale, 25 are selling for what? Above asking price. That's insane. And obviously that hurts us as investors, because guess what? Do you think we can compete with retail buyers who are willing to pay an arm and a leg for a property? Of course not. We cannot compete with that because we are in the business of investing, and we need to have enough meat in the bone to make the numbers work at the end on a flip or a rental. So that's hurting us as investors, okay? Retail buyers or investors who do not understand the numbers and they're just overpaying for properties. And that's also helping fuel property prices going up, okay? The next point is homes with price drops. Okay, so only 10% of the properties have been dropping prices. So most of them are what? Stable. Whereas before, we saw property prices, sellers dropping the price at 37%. So which means that sellers are not willing to drop the price, only 10%, whereas before it used to be up to 37%. Okay, so this is obviously an indication of a very strong demand for real estate today. Okay, next, what's going to happen to interest rates? Let's understand what happened in 2021 with interest rates. Okay, so interest rates on the rise. What does that mean? Less affordability, and we're going to explain that in just a second. So this is 2021 February. So as you can see, at the beginning of this year, the interest rates were at the very, very, very low in history, the lowest ever in the history of the United States. So when the interest rates are low, what does that mean? What it means is that it allows people to afford more, right? They can afford to pay more. Why? Because when you have a small interest rate, then the interest or the payment, the principal and tax is going to be what? Principal, interest, tax, and insurance is going to be low. So they can afford to buy a bigger house, a bigger mortgage payment. So now with interest rates on the rise, Testing, testing. This is not even working, right? Okay, better. Okay. So now with probably we turn it off, correct? You can hear me well, okay? Okay, I'm just used to having something in my hand. So I'm gonna use the clicker on my hand. So now, look at these, look at the interest rate. So when they were so low, refinances went through the roof this year because the interest rates being so low. But as you can see the trend, just this year, 2021, the interest rates are on the rise, okay? So what happens when interest rates go up? What happens to affordability? Payments are gonna go up, but yet income doesn't match up what the mortgage payments are going up by. So income alone went up by 2.7%, yet their mortgage payment in their pocket has gone up by more than 10%. So affordability is down towards the end of the year. Like as of now, with interest rates creeping up, then that's pushing home buyers to not be able to afford a bigger home. So now let's talk about 2022. So we already understand what happened in 2021, right? Let's get into the really important topics of today, predictions for 2022. And most importantly, what is it that you need to focus today to be successful next year? So prediction number one, home prices will continue to increase, okay? So the expectation is that there's gonna be an increase of 7 to 11%. And this is, again, due to very strong demand on inventory. Think about this. We still have a really low months of housing supply, 2.4. It should be 4 to 6 months. So there's still not enough inventory, right? So home prices will continue to go up 7 to 11%, okay? But it's gonna be at its peak next year, okay? So that's prediction number one. Prediction number two, interest rates are gonna increase, okay? As you saw before the end of the year, interest rates are already on the rise, okay? And why will the interest rates are on the rise? Because that's a way for the government, for the Fed, to slow down, slam on the brakes on inflation. When prices go up, right? Property prices are going up. The government does not want these to get out of control. So for them to control prices to continue to go up, inflation to continue to go up, they have to increase interest rates because that's going to cause affordability to go down, right? So still, they're going to be historically low. So the increase is going to be half a point to a point, but still it's going to be in the 3 or 4s. It's still very, very low, okay? But interest rates are going to go up for sure. And we've seen that in December. Number three, supply is going to increase, okay? To about 3.4 months of housing supply compared to 2.4 today. So this is a good sign. How will this inventory supply increase? Any guesses, any thoughts online or here in the room? So the inventory supply, it's going to come from the distress, the pending pre-foreclosures, correct? That were pretty much stuck through the pandemic. The courts were closed in Illinois, correct? So, and throughout the United States. Therefore, there were so many pending pre-foreclosures that now all the courts are open. So all the distress inventory that is going to enter the foreclosure process will eventually surface and recycle back into the market in 2022. It's not going to happen in the spring or the summer. We're going to see this increase in inventory towards the fall, winter of next year, because the foreclosure process in Illinois, which is a judicial state, meaning that banks have to go through the court system to foreclose on the owner. Can take up to 2 years. Okay, some go faster than others. It also depends on the county. That is why we're going to see an increase in inventory supply, but still is not going to be nowhere near where it needs to be. It needs to be between 4 to 6 months of inventory supply. Okay, so it's still going to be low. Therefore, prices are still holding up and on the rise for next year. But again, we will see more inventory coming down the pipe. Just to give you an example, before pre-pandemic, our partner was supplying us with bank-owned properties inventory. We were getting anywhere between 500 to 1,000 properties a week that were going to go to the online auctioning platforms. Today, we're getting about 100, 150, right, a week. So it's nothing. But that number is going to continue to increase as they process all the pending pre-foreclosures backed up since pre-pandemic. Okay, so this is a good thing. Inventory is going to increase. So we will have more properties. Number 4, rents. Rents are going to go up and by a lot, 5 to 10%. Why? Because of, for one, the forbearance program ended. So many homeowners are not going to be able to come current with the loan. So eventually, they're going to need to be displaced. Okay, so we're talking about nationwide 4 million people, okay, that are going to need to be displaced. So right now, the eviction moratorium has ended. So this will allow also landlords to evict tenants who have not paid. So if you take into account evictions that are going to occur in 2022, plus people being dismissed from their homes because they are getting foreclosed on, where are they going to go? Some of them, they need to find a place to live. And with property prices going up, do you think they can afford another home? Not really. And if their credit is being hurt by a foreclosure filing, they cannot buy a home next year. So they need to go into what market? Into the rental market. Therefore, the rents are going to sky high. Exactly. So the rental market right now is super strong. Guess what? It will continue to be stronger. Let me give you an example. We bought a property in Naperville maybe about 5 weeks ago. So Naperville is a very strong flipping and rental market, okay? So we completed the rehab last week, and we like to test the waters. So we put it for sale for $399,000, and also for rent for $2,600. When we put the listing for rent, it was overwhelming. I mean, we put the listing for rent this week, like on Wednesday. We already have a signed lease, and they're gonna move in next week. And some people were willing to pay like $2,700, whereas the sale, it's a small niche, right? Because you're targeting a more expensive buyer. So we ended up keeping the property, and we're gonna be cash flowing quite a lot on that property. But that's just to give you an example that the rental market will become even stronger and hotter than anything. So what does that mean to you? What it means is that rentals should be a must in your toolkit. So you only have 3 options, right? Wholesale, fix and flip, and rentals. So let me see if this will allow me to connect.
Hugo?
Yes, perfect. Now we have connection.
Clearer?
Yes, let me, for some reason, okay, can you guys see the screen? Okay. Yeah, okay, so let me open up the PowerPoint. Okay, can you guys see it?
Yeah, but it's still kind of blurry though. The smaller print, we can't see it all, but the larger print is okay.
So
But
this is good, right? You guys can read online these, the green
yes,
letters and everything?
we can
Okay,
see that.
perfect. So yeah, if it's a small print, I'm gonna speak loudly on it. Okay, so what it means for you is that you have to get into the rental market. Okay, absolutely. And if you think about it, that's how you will accumulate wealth in the long run. That's the true power of real estate, by accumulating a rental portfolio that is going to give you passive income. Okay. Um, Now, should you do flips? What's what's the answer? Yes or no? Some?
Yes.
Absolutely. The answer is yes, because of the months of housing supply. It's a 2.4. It's gonna go up to 3.4. Still, there's a shortage of inventory. So flips for sure. Okay? Flips are a go. But again, you've got to look at the specific market that you are interested in, right? Like deal makers. How many properties are we going to buy in the next 45 days? How many?
21.
21 properties. 21 properties, exactly, in the next 45 days. Okay? So now South Holland is an amazing flipping market. Why? Because the months of housing supply is only 1.14 to be precise. What does that mean? That if you buy it, fix it up, and put it on the market, it's going to be sold in how many months? 1 month. Okay? And it's also a very strong rental market. But the problem with South Holland is that they have the rental moratorium. So they have a 10% cap on rentals. And that has been met for, over 98% of the properties. So if you end up buying a property or looking into South Holland, you must think flip, okay? So 2022 is going to be an amazing year, again, for flippers because of the shortage of inventory, and for rentals. For rentals is going to be amazing, okay? So should you do both? Absolutely. You need to do both. What about wholesales? Absolutely, wholesales. Because guess what? If the numbers make sense, you should get it on the contract. Even if it's not a great deal for you, guess what? It could be a great deal for somebody else. So wholesales is going to be a must. And that's what we are engaging in today, right? For those of you who are part of the deal makers. So let's go into the next prediction. Employment increase, okay? So right now we are in a recovery mode. But have you seen that employment has been way better than during the pandemic? Why? Because the government assistance has ended, right? Because with the government assistance, people were making more money staying at home and not working than going to work. So they chose not to go to work. Therefore, employers were struggling a lot, especially in the restaurant business, right? They were struggling to have people serve their customers, people preparing the meals. It was a big struggle. And in many, especially the supply chain, right, was the one that suffered the most. But right now, that is working better. And in 2022, it's going to continue to improve because what's happening today with employment, people are going back to work. They're going back to the office. And you can tell that in the traffic. When you drive now, it's like, whoa, this is like pre-pandemic traffic. That's a good sign. Even though you don't like it, it's a good sign, right? Going back to work, maybe you may not enjoy it. You got used to being at home, but it's a good sign for the economy, okay? So that leads me into the sixth prediction, right? Supply chain issue eases up. Okay, so the cost of materials, as you know, have gone through the roof, and the reason why is because supply chain issues, right? People have been dismissed, and then now with the with the Biden administration, the requirement on vaccines, right? So some people have decided to quit rather than getting vaccinated. So that caused a lot of issues, but now that is getting better, and it's going to get better as time goes on. We're going beyond in the recovery phase for the pandemic, which is a good thing. So the cost of materials will correct themselves, but not drastically. So you should now, when you're thinking about doing your flip or your rental for 22, still account for at least a 35% higher cost of rehabbing than pre-pandemic. So before, if you were spending, let's say, 30,000 on your rehab, it's not going to be 30,000. Now it's going to be, if you add a 35% increase, it's going to be 40,000 to 45,000 easily. Okay, why? Because the supply chain issues, cost of materials, and guess what? Labor is taking advantage of it with the excuse of construction materials going high. Contractors are asking for an arm and a leg. Isn't that true? With the excuse of supply chain issues, now labor has gone up as well. Therefore, you should expect a 35 increase on your rehabs for 2022. Okay, so just be aware of it. If you did a rehab pre-pandemic and you spent 30, 35, it's not going to be that. It's going to be 40 to 45. Let me give you a quick example. Like, we closed on a property week and a half ago in Dalton, very minor rehabbing. So I was personally estimating 20, 22, 23 is going to be 30, or maybe a little bit higher than 30. And a lot has to do with the materials. Exactly. Labor, we can still control through our relationships with our existing partners, existing contractors, but materials, right? I mean, we just recently for a tenant bought a stove, an electric stove. We paid $980 something for a stove, electric stove, whereas before it was 500 to 600. Appliances were hit the most with the supply chain. So not only will the deliveries be like 2 weeks down the road, but the prices have gone through the roof on appliances. Okay, so I just couldn't believe that we paid almost $1,000 for a stove. So when you do new appliances in your kitchen, you're looking at 35, 4,000, whereas before you could get by with maybe 3,000, 32, but now you're hitting the 4,000 because of the same issue. Okay. Any questions so far? So I'm going to test you guys to see if you fully understood what the predictions for 2022 are. So question? Yes.
The concern is we're buying a peak, we're paying a lot for properties. Do the rents stay high? Do the rents go down? So your mortgage payment's going to be what it is.
Right.
If your rents don't stay up high or the length of your mortgage, you're in trouble.
So the question is, if people bought high, like in the peak of the prices, right? Then what happens today, right? With the rents. So let me tell you, when you buy rentals, even if you pay asking price or above asking price, you always, as an investor, need to focus on the cash flow. That's critical. You cannot rely on appreciation, because that's what caused the burst in 2008 and 9. People were relying on appreciation. So they overpaid without looking at the bottom line. Okay, I'm overpaying for the property, but will I have cash flow to pay the mortgage? They forgot about the cash flow. So they got big mortgage payments that when the economy collapsed, and obviously the rents were not supporting the price, because that, the mortgage payment was greater than what the rents were. So they were not able to cover their operating expenses, let alone the mortgage. So they ended up losing the property. So always, regardless of the supply and demand property prices, for rentals, you've got to look at the cash flow. You can pay whatever number you decide, so long the cash flow makes sense, right?
Because that's the case. So I know the cash flow will work now on a decision that I make today. The question is, will it continue to work 5 years from now?
So the question is, if the cash flow happens to work today, will the cash flow continue to work? And the answer is going to be on slide number 4. The rents will continue to go up. So if your cash flow works today, what's going to happen to your cash flow next year? It's going to be even better, right? So cash flow is going to be better. For those of you who own rentals, you are in for a great surprise. And that is why, people, a lot of investors, they like to do a 2-year lease. We don't. We always favor a 1-year lease. Why? Because boom, every year we hit them with a rent increase. Even if it's symbolic. I mean, we've had rent increases anywhere between $10 or $15 all the way to 100, 150. We play it by ear, but we hit them every year. Rent increase, boom, 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 boom. And you know what? It doesn't do us any good to have a 2-year lease because we won't capitalize on the rental market, right? And it doesn't mean anything to have a 2-year lease. Why? Because if they want to move out, they'll move out even in the middle of the lease. So who cares, right? Because guess what? As a landlord, your responsibility is to get another renter right away so you don't incur any losses. You're going to go after them if you end up incurring losses. But with such a strong rental market, I mean, you're going to have people line up outside of your rental. So that does not apply. But that was just a side note talking about rentals. That's how we do it. Yes, Rob? Yes. Okay, great question. So Rob is asking, you have an owner in South Holland that has a rental moratorium. So that means that the owner has a rental license from the South Holland village. And not only that, but the tenant has a year, or let's say a 2-year lease. So what happens if the owner today decides to sell the property? Will the tenant be allowed to stay in the property? Will the village grandfather the rental license? And the answer is exactly no. So let me tell you, even though the lease agreement supersedes the rental license, okay? So what does that mean? If you have a rental, let's talk about another village that has no rental moratorium. Let's talk about Streamwood. If I have a lease on my tenant that expires in 2 years from now, I sell the property today, the tenant doesn't need to move out because the lease supersedes the sales contract. So I'm selling the property with the tenant, and the tenant is allowed to stay in the property for the duration of the lease, regardless of the transaction of the property. If it changes hands, the lease supersedes. But in the case of South Holland, guess what? Village ordinances are going to supersede the lease. What it means is that they will not grandfather the rental license if the rental cap is met on that particular block, but they won't evict the tenant. What they're going to do is they're going to work with the owner or the new owner and the tenant to transition them out, okay? But they will not grandfather a rental license if the cap has been met in that particular block. So when the sale happens, automatically the property loses the rental license, but they won't force out the tenant immediately. The village won't impose fees by having a tenant in there because they understand, right, that it takes time for the transition. So they're going to work with the owner and the tenant on the transition to move them out to another property. Yes, Rob? So who's going to be collecting the rent? The new owner. The new owner will collect the rent. So the question is, can you do like a rent-to-own lease with the tenant? You won't get the rental license if the rental cap has been met. Therefore, you got to work with the tenant on moving them out. So the leases at that point is no longer important, or any agreement. Yes. So the question is that you like to collect rent, right? So you keep the tenant for as long as possible. The key is that the village needs to be aware of your transition plans with the tenant. They're smart, right? So if they realize that pretty much you're not doing anything to help them transition out, they're gonna have a feast, and they're gonna say, hey, they need to move out. What's the plan? What have you agreed with the tenant? Have you given them a 30 or 60-day notice? Are they looking? Have you engaged a relocation company to help them move out? The village is going to be on top of it. Right. I mean, the village is not going to let you have a tenant for over 6 or a year. So they're willing to work, but with certain limits, right? They won't be, they're not going to like that you take advantage of their discretion. Yeah. So let's go over the great questions, Rob. Let's go over again the summary so that you fully understand, because this is very important. Okay, I want to reiterate what's going to happen. So predictions. Number one, make sure you write this down. Interest rates are going to go up, but not significantly. You can still do refinances, and this is a way for the Fed, for the government, to slow down inflation. If they don't increase the rates, guess what? Property prices and overall things in the economy are going to continue to go up at a higher rate than salaries are going to. So people will afford less, and that's going to cause a recession. When the property prices of everything, goods, materials, go higher than what the salaries are going, that causes a recession, because then people cannot afford things. They're going to start to default on mortgages, rents, any installment loan that they may have, credit cards, revolving, and so forth. So that is why government has a protocol, a policy to increase interest rates to control inflation, period. So interest rates will still be at a very historically low rates, okay? So don't worry about jumping in to refinance. You can still do that. Rates are still going to be great, okay? To do flips, to do rentals, but they're going to increase. This is good, right? All the backed up pending pre-foreclosures are going to recycle back into the market. So when there's an increase in supply, that's going to cause property prices not to continue to rise. They're going to stabilize or correct themselves. But due to the low shortage of inventory, right, of 2.4, prices are still going to continue because we still have a strong demand of buyers. Why? Because the rates are still so low. People can afford more houses. So you have a bigger pool of buyers who want to get into the real estate market. And don't forget the millennials. The millennials are people who are turning 30 years old. They want to get into the housing market, right? So there's a big wave of millennials jumping into the real estate. They want to own a piece of America. So that's causing a very strong demand in a very low supply of properties environment, which is making prices still to go up. Okay, so keep this in mind. But again, distressed properties are going to come in the market, which is a good sign, right? Because we love distressed properties. We don't like any more retail houses to come in the market. We like distressed properties. So banked on properties that may need work, because that's where we as investors come into the picture, right? We don't care about retail properties coming into the market because there's no meat in the bone. There's nothing we can do about it. Getting to rentals, this is going to be huge, okay, for sure. Next, employment. This is awesome, even though you may not like it when you go back to work. And then account for a 35 increase on your rehabs. That applies for flips and rentals. So are there any questions so far on the predictions for 2022? Are you clear on what you need to focus on moving forward for 2022? So now the question is, how can you position yourself for success in 2022? You need to do rentals. You need to do flips. You need to do wholesales. So number one is cash is kings. Cash is king. So you've got to increase your reserves because there's going to be an increase in inventory. So for you to pull the trigger on a flip or a rental, you've got to have reserves. Reserves are going to be critical. Therefore, you have to leverage from other people's money. Okay? You've got to use hard money lenders. You have to use private money lenders to purchase these properties and do a flip or a rental. That's going to be critical. Using other people's money. Even if you have the cash, don't use it. Use as little cash as possible. Reserves are critical, okay? So that's one thing that you need to do. Stash up cash. Now, for those of you who have properties with equity or your primary residence has equity, consider doing a HELOC on your primary residence. Do a cash out refinance. Because if you have reserves and a great deal comes your way, guess what? You can seize on the opportunity. But if you don't have reserves, if your reserves are stuck in equity, can you do anything? No, you're going to miss out on deals. So right now, take advantage of the low interest rates and do home equity line of credits on your primary residence to cash out. Because I know many of you have a lot of equity. So take advantage of that. Do home equity line of credits to cash out, especially because the rates are so low. And on HELOCs on your primary residence are going to be extremely low. And those reserves are going to be amazing because you will have the option perhaps to lend out that money to become a passive investor or to become an active investor where you are actively pursuing a flip or a rental. But having reserves is going to be critical. Number one. Number two, take care of your FICO score. Your FICO score needs to be above 680, period, to qualify for the best terms. So reserves, FICO score, okay? Very important. When you have a lower FICO score than 680, some lenders, may have an instrument to provide, but the terms are not going to be the best. You might be hit with, instead of 2 points, you might be hit with 4 points. Or instead of paying maybe anywhere between 9 to 12% interest rate, you might be hit with 14, 15% interest rate because you're a high risk client. So do whatever it takes to improve your FICO score. A tip of advice on that, if you have an entity, make sure that you have business credit cards, okay? I love business credit cards, okay, that are given to your company, not to your name. Why? Because you can max out the available limit, and guess what? That won't affect your FICO score on your personal credit. That's huge. It's going to affect if you default on the monthly minimum payment. Then they're going to report it back to your personal FICO credit report. But if not, it won't affect your debt. Yeah, your, say it again? Utilization rate. Exactly. So that's huge. And not only that, but when we started getting all these business credit cards, I got in the habit of increasing the credit line, and then I was calling them every other month. I mean, to the point that one of the credit cards that we have has $125,000. Yet, with the same bank, my personal credit card, I could not get it higher than 20,000. Can you figure that out? It's a loophole. The same bank, my personal, because obviously I don't have a W-2 or a 1099. So they didn't like that. But in the business, Mr. Galicia, why do you want an increase on your credit? business growth. Oh, okay, fine. Give me a second. They put you on hold and your credit line has been increased. So I got in the habit of doing that. It's amazing. And I did it for several cards. So, and you leverage business credit cards when you do flips and rentals, because what are you going to use the credit cards for? To pay for what? Materials. Exactly. You always want to control materials. You only use your cash to pay for labor, but you always have to control materials. Always. You never have the contractor pay for materials, because guess what? They're going to ask you for upfront money. That means cash out of your pocket, instead of leveraging from business credit card that is not even going to show in your personal FICO score. Does that make sense? So business credit cards. So work on your FICO score. Make sure that you apply for business credit cards. Very, very critical. Okay. So again, stash up cash. If you have equity in your property, this is the time to do a refinance, a cash out refinance. Take care of your FICO score. You're going to be in amazing shape to seize on any amazing deal that comes your way. Does that make sense? Okay. And the next, yes.
About how you can take money from your business credit card,
Yes.
your personal, you set up a cash out with your business credit card, with the email address, and you set up a cash out with your personal name with a different email address. So now your business account is paying your personal name, and you can pull money like that to pay for your labor.
Exactly. So the question is, you can set up the personal and the business separately. With a, if you're going to do electronic transactions via Zelle, you have a different email for the personal and the business. And in fact, you can transfer money back and forth. Exactly. You can do that. Obviously, you've got to make sure that you don't commingle, right? That you keep your business separate from your personal. You don't want, like to pay your own expenses from your business, unless it's a business related expense.
I would just repay my card back, so it looked like I made a transaction, then I just.
So Wanda's saying is that she may pay her monthly car installment, right, with the business. If that's the case, guess what? You need to buy your vehicles under your entity name so that it's a write-off, right? Not only will you use the company money to pay for it, but it's a write-off. The depreciation on the vehicle, which by the way, they depreciate big time, is gonna help you pay less taxes at the end of the year. So everyone buying a car, buy it under your entity name. That's how we do it. Okay. So great point. Does everyone have an entity created or a company? Everyone? Perfect. That's good. So again, stash up cash, FICO score. What else would you need to do to be successful in real estate for 2022? Good lenders and the deals, GCs, partners. Very good. So everyone is saying the right things. So the most important thing in real estate, we're in the people's business. Relationships. That's going to be critical. To belong and have the right partners. Work with the key players, from attorneys, inspectors, contractors especially, right? Because real estate is a complex transaction. If you have a rotten apple, the whole thing collapses. You cannot afford to have that. So it's a people's business. You've got to spend a lot of time developing great relationships with peers, mentors, people who know more and have a lot more than you, that you want to look up to them, you admire them. You've got to have a mentor for sure. We all have mentors to bounce ideas off of or brainstorm. Peers are critical, and even subordinates. You need to have virtual assistants. That's going to be critical. Make sure you put it in your 2022 assignments. Virtual assistants. What does that mean? Virtual assistant means somebody that is helping you do to-do list, to do task, errands, virtually across the world, okay? We're so big on that. Even before pre-pandemic, we're all off about remote. We've been remote, pandemic, remote. So to us, it was like the same thing. It's super critical. When you hire VAs across the world, you can hire top talent for an amazing price. What I realized is that I could find people who can do things better than I can, faster, more efficient, more effective, and cheaper. And most importantly, free up some of your time. Because the biggest mistake investors make is that they want to learn it all. They want to do it all, and you end up doing what? Nothing. And you end up spending your time on non-productive activities. If you want to make money in real estate, you have to engage in 3 activities. You've got to talk to listing agents, you've got to talk to sellers, and you have to make offers. Anything else that you do other than that will not generate any money. Does that make sense? It needs to be done, but why not delegate it to somebody else? And believe me, at the beginning, it's a very hard pill to swallow, to pay for somebody else to do something that you could do. But if you get in the mindset, it's a different mindset, right? To free up time so that you engage your time in building relationships, talking to sellers, talking to listing agents, and making offers. That's what's going to make you the most. Okay? I see people that they want to take on property management. Huge mistake. And it's the worst job that you can think of. Getting phone calls in the middle of the night from tenants, leaky toilets. Forget about that, right? Just because you want to save money. But people ask me oftentimes, how many rentals should I have before I engage a professional property management company? The answer is 1. You should not engage in that. Does it make you any money? No. Does it take up a lot of your time from doing deals? Absolutely. Should you do it? No. Get a professional to do it. Property management. Or they want to do their own taxes. I mean, are you an accountant? Even if you're an accountant, find deals. That's going to make you more money, and delegate that to an expert, somebody that went to school for that it's the expert. Or you want to read up all these legal documents, contracts, and so forth. Forget about that. Don't waste your time. Delegate that to the attorney. Spend your time building relationships. That's going to pay off big time. That is why we're doing networking events. We're going to have a potluck after this meeting, so it's going to be awesome. That's what these presents are for, right? So that's where you're going to get the most out of your time. Make sure that if you have a to-do list, how many of you have a to-do list that keeps dragging and dragging and dragging, and you see the same thing and doesn't get done in weeks and weeks? Raise your hand. All of you. If that's the case, you've got to have a VA to do that. Okay? Try at least one VA. So again, stash up cash, get a line of credit, improve your FICO, get a virtual assistant. Okay? Number 4, build relationships. Build relationships. And you've got to engage on being on the field, okay? And this is one of the biggest changes that we've made in Chicago Deal Vault. As you all know, I mean, my wife and I, we've done right now, like we have 36 rentals. We've done probably 5 flips. So over the last 3 years, we started with Chicago Deal Vault technology, right? We made that available to most of you. But technology itself and a lot of data, it's great. But if you don't know how to use it, it's useless, right? Then we added on some training, one-on-one training. We have the inner circle groups, right, for wholesale cash flow. Yet more training, right? So we realized people were getting successes, but not at the rate they should be. Think about this. If you want to become the best soccer player, I have you watch a lot of trainings, right? Or I put you on the whiteboard and I show you strategies. Will you ever become the best soccer player? Yes or no? No, absolutely not. You have to be where? On the field, playing. So my wife, family, and I were in Europe this last summer for 3 months. Okay, 3 months. And then I was spinning my wheels, and then I was telling my wife, because we got the chance to think, talk, connect, and we said, Deal Vault members are not as successful as they should be. And that bugs me big time. I just can't stand that, because my commitment and my passion is your success. So I said, let's reverse engineer what we've done in the last 3 years. So we started with nothing. Today we have 30 something rentals. What have we done in the last 3 years? So by reverse engineering that, we realized that we were playing on the field. We were learning, but guess what? Learning goes so far. It's impossible for you to know it all. Even ourselves, we're learning. Even the pros, they're learning on a daily basis. It's impossible for you to know it all. But when you're playing, you're going to have hands-on. So what did Frida and I engage in the last 3 years? Looking at a lot of properties, building relationships, and making tons of offers. That's what it took us. So what we did is, when we came back, I told my wife, we're going to do exactly the same at a bigger scale. At a bigger scale. Enough of monkey business. We need to see success from people. Because I told my wife, with everything that we have, technology, training, resources, I mean, if we had had what we have today 3 years ago, we wouldn't have 36 rentals. We would have over 100 rentals. So I told my wife, if we make our infrastructure, everything that we have, what we've done at a bigger scale to our members, even if they get 10% of what we've done, 3 properties in the next year and a half, wouldn't that be freaking amazing? Right? Because, enough is enough. I told my wife, I mean, for how long will people continue to do what they've done and they're not where they should be? Over 96% of investors don't make it to the level they should. And it's not because they don't have the energy, the passion, the knowledge. It's because they're not investing their time in the activities that are going to make them money. They're doing so many other things that will not make them any money. They're not building relationships as they should be. They're not seeing properties as they should be. They're not talking to sellers. They're not talking to listing agents. Obviously, they're not making offers. So time passes by, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I meet them 3 years now. I met them 3 years ago. I see them today. What's up with you? Let's say, John. And they are where they were 3 years ago. Is that fair? No, it's not fair. It's about that to change, right? Because then if that's the case, forget about real estate. Do something else. Do Uber, do something else that's going to make you money today. But don't waste your time, because that's priceless. Time will never come back. That's super, super important. So this is what we came up with. We call it what? Deal makers. Exactly. So I told my wife, when we came back from Europe, I said, we're going to do exactly what you and I did at a bigger scale. And then I said, we're going to challenge ourselves big time. How? Because to be successful in real estate, you need a great deal. You need the money. Obviously, you need the knowledge, the experience, but at least you need those 2 pieces, deal and money, right? So we said, let's put fire on our butt now. Frida's and mine. We're going to be committed to bringing the deals to our deal makers. That's simple. Can you imagine, what that means? Us bringing the deals to you guys. That's huge. That's a huge commitment. But I always like to push myself. I always like to ask for the star and the moon and everything in between. Because remember, in life, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. So I said, we're going to make that commitment to the deal maker. So I told my wife, we're going to start with 10 people. We ended up with 20, 25 people. Today, 6 months later, we have how many? 40 something people. Okay. And so what's happening with the deal makers is super simple. We're going to bring the deal, either MLS or off market, and we're going to facilitate the partnerships. So what we're doing is we're profiling you guys. Money people, no money people. We're going to make sure that you work together, right? And finally, the biggest headache of all investors, contractors, right? So everyone is bringing their own contractor to the pool. So next week, we're closing on 2 properties off market, right? Joe and Rich. And before they close on the property, they have already 2, 3 quotes, which is amazing. How? Our pool of contractors. Even our deal makers, some of them are contractors, they're assisting. We're all sharing. So think about this. We're bringing the deal, that's on us. We're facilitating the partnerships. What about funding? We're tapping into our best funding partners. Awesome. So, I mean, most of you were on a call, right, on Thursday. How amazing were those guys? I mean, they know what they're doing. I mean, they're the top performers when it comes to funding. I mean, what rates did they say for Harmony Lender? Okay, you're in lending, fix and flip. Let me ask you a question. What's your name again? Maria. On a fix and flip, what are the ongoing rents? I mean, the ongoing rates. Yes. Yeah, it depends on the borrower, but typically, what's the range for a fix and flip? Exactly. Exactly. So great point. So yeah, we're getting amazing rates, right? But obviously, you've got to have the track record. So now we're super excited, right? So we're bringing now what we've done is now we're scanning the MLS, and as Joe said, they're coming fast and furious. How many showings here? How many properties have we shown in the last 4 weeks? Over 30 properties. We already closed on one. We got another one on the contract yesterday. So it's pretty powerful. But most importantly, how many did we get on the contract off market this week? 20, 21. And I want every single deal maker to be part of it. And they're going to be part of it. And in fact, today at the potluck, we're going to go over each property and how many people are going to be in each deal. So it's going to be freaking amazing, right? Because I want everyone to have success, whether you have money or don't have money, right? I don't want the money issue to be an obstacle. I want you all to be successful today. So we're moving forward. The seller signed this week. We're buying 21 properties in South Holland. How amazing is that, guys? So big round of applause, right, to all the deal makers. So we negotiated an amazing deal. He wanted 2.6 million, and we negotiated that down to how much? 1.9. We were able to knock off over $500,000. That was freaking amazing, and we drove the prices. So we analyzed the properties, came up with our ARV, and worked the numbers backwards to take the ARV times 70% minus an estimated rehab. So that's what we're gonna do. So if you guys are part of the deal makers, what time is it? 2:10, perfect. So we have amazing timing right now. So who's not part of the deal makers today? Okay, so we have few people. So if you're interested in being part of the deal makers, come to the table in the back, and then we're gonna give you some information because we want you to be successful today. So today is gonna be the last time to accept people into the deal makers at the price that we have it today. So if you're interested in becoming part of the deal maker, we're gonna make you part of this package deal of 21 properties in South Holland, whether you have money or not, okay? That's a guarantee. We're going to make you part of the deal. So if you are not part of the deal makers, you are interested in being successful today with the South Holland, come see me in the back now. Or if you are online, Phil, can you please send the link to sign up for the deal makers? So let me tell you what that is, okay? Just quickly summarize. We're going to take you under our wing. Okay, what it means is we've been getting so many off-market properties that we rent out a bus, we take you out to see the properties. Super simple, right? But these are off-market, okay? We show you the properties, we bring a contractor, we bring an inspector. We get on the bus, we do a full assessment, and boom, we decide at the end of the day what properties we buy. So we're closing on these two properties next week. Okay, these two properties. This is another MLS property that we closed on last week, okay, in Dalton. And then these are just an example of all the showings we've had in the last few days. So we're going fast and furious. Now, you guys can come to the showing. If you guys don't have time, that's okay. We will negotiate. We will try to get it on the contract, and then we'll bring that deal back to you, obviously as a wholesale deal, okay? But we're gonna bring back the deals. Again, MLS are 65% of our inventory came from the MLS, something we cannot ignore, okay? So this is just an example of the potential deals. For funding, through our partners, over 60% of the deal makers have a proof of funds. That's really, really powerful. This is how we're gonna categorize you. Money people, not money people. We're gonna work out the partnerships, okay? And that's what we're gonna do today at 3:30 at the potluck. Power team, right? Biggest pain for investors, contractors. We've solved that problem. So we're gonna be sharing our resources. So this is all as part of the deal makers, right? So I'm gonna just put it all up on the screen. Okay, so we're gonna bring the deal to you. We're gonna facilitate the partnerships. We're gonna help you with the funding. You're gonna use our power team. We're gonna give you access to our masterminds that we do on a weekly basis for 6 months. We're gonna give you access to the wholesale and the cash flow online training that we have. You're gonna get a t-shirt. I have tons of t-shirts, right? So we're gonna do some raffles today. My upcoming book, How to Go From Learning to Earning in the Next 90 Days. That's coming up pretty soon. It's in the last revision, guys. So that book is coming out pretty soon. Obviously, you have me as a mentor, one-on-one. That's priceless. We have a handbook as well. We're gonna give you access to Dealable for a month. So this is the last time we're gonna sell it. So the value is, if you try to piece it all together, it's priceless and impossible for anyone to put together, right? So we're gonna continue, and this is the last time we're gonna do it for 3,500. So 3,500 for those of you online as well. This is the last time. So the guarantee is we're gonna make you part of the South Holland package. So you're gonna be successful today. You are gonna be part of the flips. It could be 1, 2, 3, as many as you can handle, okay? This is what we're offering today. And this is the last time. In fact, we're thinking about offering it for more, but that's gonna happen next year. This is a Christmas gift for all of you who wanna be successful today and who are sick and tired of not being where you should be. It's that simple. So 3,500 today to be part of the deal makers. That simple. So if you're interested, we just want 5 more people, okay? That applies for online people and in person. 5 more at this price. Next year, this is gonna go way higher, okay? So meet me in the back if you're interested, and online, Phil, can you please send the link? We only want 5 people, that's it. And because we're gonna guarantee to be part of the South Holland package that we're buying in the next 45 days. So you will get involved in a flip for sure for the next 5 people who want to join the deal makers today, and you will get a t-shirt if you're here. If not, we're gonna send it to you. And then if you join today, we're gonna have the online potluck as well, because we're gonna go over every single property. Out of the 21 properties, most of you put their names on many properties, but we're gonna go over that in more detail. So if you join today, we will make you part of the 21 property purchase that we are going to do in the next 45 days. So Christmas gift, 3,500. Next year, you will never see this price again. Ever, 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 okay? 35 is the joke. So if you wanna be successful today and be part of this South Holland package purchase, today, 3,500, fill only 5 people, that's it, 5 people. So if you're interested, please come see me at the back. Phil, can you please handle the people online? Let's take a break, and then we're gonna get ready for the potluck and go over the 21 properties we're buying, okay? And then we're gonna have a raffle, food, and it's gonna be awesome. So thank you everyone for joining. Please follow our forecast for 2022. Thank you for coming today. So meet me in the back if you have any questions or if you are interested in being part of the deal makers. So thank you guys. So this offer is on the table, 15 minutes, by the way. Okay, let's take So guys, if you brought some food, please bring it inside, and then we'll have it here. So if you brought food, please bring it here. Yeah, you can put it in the back table if you brought some food. Can you ask the question again?
Yes, the deal makers, they are vetting the deal, the ARV, the rehab cost, because it apparently per Phil's comments saying that they go to the actual property, they look at the property itself, and they must do the research of the rehab costs and then the ARV, right? So they are filtering the quality, let's say the criteria for a good quality flip or rental property.
Absolutely. So we get the inventory, we go through the inventory to make sure they're not like rehabs, and then we go see them. We rent out a bus and we go see the properties.
Okay,
And
understood.
Then that's how we get boots on the ground and get a feel for the scope of work. We bring a GC and an inspector to see this property.
Understood. And why are you focusing on South Holland? It looks like you have so many properties in South Holland. What's so special about South Holland at this time?
Oh, so we just happened to buy a property in Dalton last week, week and a half ago, and the seller is liquidating inventory. So this inventory happens to be in South Holland. So it's just all off market. So it's just a great deal. So we're buying all of them.
And off market, it came to you from a wholesaler, or how did you happen to get?
No. Directly from the seller that we bought a property in Dalton from him. So he said, "Oh, by the way, Hugo, I'm liquidating 21 properties in South Holland. Are you interested?" And that's how this came about.
Okay. Is there a chance you can have properties in areas that are, let's say, B plus areas? Because Dalton is maybe like a C or maybe lower than a C because it's kind of a high crime, right? The high risk, high crime kind of area. Can you get in, like, let's say, Wooddale or Addison or some other properties west of O'Hare in the DuPage County?
Absolutely. I mean, we got one on the contract in Joliet today. So they come everywhere. West, east, north, south, everywhere. Including DuPage, because we have many members that are in DuPage. So that's one of the areas we also scan.
Okay.
MLS off market.
Yeah, because Andrew Holmes' stuff, he's getting a lot of activity from his group is in Alsip and South Holland, Blue Island, all those areas. But I don't want those areas. I wanted something else. So
yeah. So hey Phil, can you send me the link via the chat, please? And then you can sign up here.
Thank you.
Phil, can you put the link to sign up on the chat so I can see it? Somebody else here in the room is going to sign up. Are you a current member of Chicago Evil? Okay. Hey, Phil, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. So thank you, Phil. Okay, so you can use the computer to sign up right there. You can pull up a chair and then fill this out. Okay. So are there any other questions? Okay, let me, okay, here. So did I answer your question?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, let me change the camera on the other side. I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So when you're talking about putting together the group of people who need financing with the people who do not, what are those people who need financing? What are they expected to bring to the deal to be of value?
Okay, so for these 21 properties, for instance, some people have money, some don't. So it doesn't matter because then we're putting like 3 to 5 people or more in each entity. So we're going to make sure that we have a money person. We are going to make sure that we have also people who may not have money to make the flip successful. So we already talked to our preferred lenders, and they're going to fund the entire thing.
So if I understand this correctly, let's say you have 40 people who are participating, and you've got 20 properties to make it easy, and you put 2 people in each property, or you
Yeah.
put 4 people in each of 5 properties, then
Yes.
however many people are in the properties in that entity are going to share pro rata in whatever it profits from.
Exactly. Exactly. Absolutely. So when you join today, we make you part of the South Holland, and then you can pick and choose which properties you want to be part of.
Never having been to South Holland, I'd have to do a little thinking today.
Yeah, this is a chance you don't want to miss out. I mean, we've been there. It's a solid B neighborhood. It's a great flipping market, and we negotiated a great price on all of them. So we've done the research. Otherwise, if we knew it was not a good deal, do you think we would be engaging in this? Of course not.
Right. Right.
So you don't need to check anything to tell the truth. We've done that for you.
And in terms of future situation. This is kind of a unique situation. Otherwise, it's a one at a time kind of deal where you match people's interests with their needs.
Yeah, absolutely. So some people are interested in the north, west, different counties. So we put that into the search criteria. We're actively looking both off market and MLS. MLS, I mean, we've shown more than 30 properties in the last 4 weeks. If you can make it, fine. If not, we'll try to negotiate the deal. The objective is to negotiate every single potential deal, get it on the contract, and bring it to you guys, the deal makers. If you take it, fine. If not, we'll wholesale it to the network. But
Okay.
deal makers have a first hand look at all the deals.
Okay. Thanks.
So yeah, if you're interested, Phil sent out the link. Are you joining today?
Well, I've got a partner I got to talk to who is unfortunately on a plane today, so I have to. I'm in a difficult position about making a decision here.
Oh, I see.
I don't know how she's going to feel about South Holland.
Yeah, and if I mean that could be an option. If not, I mean, we're doing buying busters of the off-market inventory we get. On a Sunday, we've done two already, where we take you guys to see the properties. So if it's not South Holland, it's going to be something else. But we're going to make sure that everyone gets a piece of the pie.
Okay.
But I'm telling you that that's going to be a super nice surprise of your partner. You don't want to miss out.
Yeah, I might. But so today means 15 minutes from now.
Today, yeah. So just make the call. It's going to be a nice Christmas gift for your partner.
Let me see what I can do. 15 minutes from now, do I call in or?
So Phil, can you please make a note of Jeffrey's phone number? Can you send us your contact information via the chat?
Yeah.
And then we'll make sure that we call you.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on the line that I can help you answer? Anybody else? Anybody else?
Yes, I
Any?
have a question.
Yeah.
Is this also for wholesaling? If you just want to do this wholesaling for right now, or this is just for strictly deal makers, as far as I can go?
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that. In fact, Russell Walker, one of the biggest wholesalers in the Chicagoland area, joined my brokerage. So we're engaging in wholesaling actively. All these off-market properties that we don't buy, guess where they go? Wholesale. Even MLS properties, we bring to the deal
Okay.
makers. If they don't take them, guess where they go? Wholesale. So we're very active in wholesaling.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Uh, that's
Uh,
something to really think about to get into. So, thank you.
no problem, Marlon. Any other questions that I can help you answer?
I have one more question, Hugo.
Yeah,
Are
absolutely.
are you right now only going at single family, or are you going at multifamily too?
Both, both. This inventory happens to be all single-family homes, but we're looking at both. I mean, we've shown maybe I would say three properties that were multi-unit, 3 to 4 properties. So no, we're targeting everything because cash flow wise, multi-unit are the best. So no,
Right.
the only asset type that we haven't brought to the table is condos, townhomes, so like attached. It's been single family homes and multi-unit. We
I know for
grew,
my partner, multi-unit is the issue. So,
yeah, so now we're targeting those two asset types.
okay.
Sure.
All right. Thanks again.
So it's going to be a nice surprise for your partner. Nice Christmas gift.
I'll see what I can see if I can find her. Thanks.
Anybody else who wants to be successful today?
Oh, what is the criteria for the solid stuff?
Arthur, what's the question again, Arthur?
What is the profit criteria? Because 3 or 4 people are going to be in one particular property. So how much profit is there split or distribute across the?
Okay, great question. So the bank, let me give an example. The purchase price is, let's say, 100,000. We're gonna need to have 20 to 25,000 in reserves. So we're gonna make sure that whoever is interested in buying that property, we're gonna have enough reserves to amount to 20,000, right? So maybe there are a lot of deal makers who have a lot of capital. So we can bring one deal maker that puts in the down payment or the reserves. And then you might be interested in that deal. So you may not need to bring money or you want to bring money. It's going to be up to you, but you will get a piece of the pie. So many people are bringing money. That's fine.
I don't understand them. What is the other? Let's say there's 2 investors. One brings in the money, one doesn't. What is the value of the other investor?
Okay, so 2 investors, right? One brings the money and the other one doesn't bring the money.
Yeah, what is he contributing?
Okay, so people bringing the money, the profit split is as follows. People bringing the money, you're going to be at 50%. So 50% is going to be your cut. If you're a guarantor on the loan, then 30%. And if you don't bring any money, 20%.
Okay. 20%. But what value? What am I contributing then? If a person is coming into the deal with no money, what are they? Are they managing the rehab, or what are they doing?
So they're going to, the minute we close on the property, start up the utilities, gas, water, electric, work with the contractors, pull permits, work with the village, work with the tenants to transition them out, making sure that the rehab goes okay, quality-wise, time-wise, and under budget. So there's a lot of management, project management that will need to occur.
I see. So these properties are not vacant; they are occupied.
Occupied, and they're paying rent, all of them.
Okay.
So we will capture rental income while we help them transition out.
I see. So the exit strategy is to increase rents after rehab, right?
Exactly. So, and as
Thank you.
no problem. Anybody else? Anybody else? Any other questions? Hey, Flip, at the end of the call, can you please call Christine Su? Her last name is HSU. She's going to be joining the deal makers. So Christine HSU.
Okay, Hugo, I'll call her.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions? I think we just have one more spot. Yeah, a few people joined here in the room. Yeah, perfect. That's successful. Awesome. Welcome. And then if you can stay, we're going to do the potluck and go over the inventory.
Okay, thanks.
So guys, we only have one more spot left. Anybody interested in taking this spot online?
Are you on the phone?
Yeah, I was.
Dan Barron.
Dan, how are you?
Good. Nice to meet
Finally,
you.
nice.
Close.
Yeah, we had an online meeting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You remember?
with Felipe. Yeah,
Yeah, with Felipe.
Felipe was very.
Were you dealing with somebody now? Or?
Yeah, I was kidding somebody. Let me put my camera
No, I
here.
don't
So,
want to. I could come back when you're free. I'll hang out.
let me see.
I'm in no rush. We're in hiding.
Let me see.
Hugo.
Uh,
Hi, Hugo.
so tell me, Dan. Are you ready?
Hugo.
Yeah, it's like, you probably, I don't know how much you remember from our conversation, but yeah, if you got somebody
Oh, do you want me to?
no, if you got somebody teed up that is waiting, that,
So
I just want to talk with you.
Okay. Hey guys, I'm here on the line. If you have any questions, please um, speak up. I'm here to answer any questions.
Hi, Hugo. Is the potluck online?
The padlock, yeah, we're gonna do it online so that we go over the inventory. Yeah, we
Okay.
won't be able to send you food there, unfortunately. And look at this, we have a lot of Christmas presents. Look, so
I still may
everyone,
show up.
look at this.
That's
Even
nice.
we're gonna celebrate. We got the drinks and everything, so it's gonna be really good. Um, but yeah, we're gonna have this online as well. So Phil, by the way, can you create the online link for the potluck for deal makers to join if they're not able to be here in the room? Can you do that and then let them know via WhatsApp? Phil,
And is there
Yes, well,
another
great,
7 o'clock
Hugo.
meeting?
what's the question?
Is there another 7 o'clock meeting today?
Today. What day is today? Sunday. No, just the 3:30 potluck meeting. That's it.
Okay. Okay.
So Phil is gonna send via WhatsApp. Are you on WhatsApp?
I am.
Yeah. So he's gonna send the potluck meeting, and we're gonna go the inventory. That's the first thing we're gonna. That's the first thing we're gonna do. Go over the inventory.
Okay.
So
Fantastic. Thank you.
please make sure you join, and Phil, please create the potluck and send it via WhatsApp, and call them for them to join. Thank you. Anybody else? Any questions online?